Socialism explained. Right now, the world's richest 1% owns more than twice as much wealth as the entire middle class. Shocking, right? But here's something even crazier. In 2020, the combined wealth of the world's billionaires grew by 27%, while millions lost their jobs and struggled to make ends meet during the pandemic. Capitalism is supposed to help everyone, but these numbers show it's failing the majority. So, what if there's a better way? What if the future could look different, one where the wealth is shared more equally, where everyone has access to quality healthcare and education, and where the planet isn't slowly dying from overconsumption? In this video, we're going to dive deep into the idea of socialism. We'll look at what it is, how it could work, and whether it might be the solution we need to escape the limits of capitalism. Are we ready for a world beyond profit-driven systems? Let's find out. Stick around until the end, you might just be surprised by what you learn. Chapter 1, Capitalism Cracked, Is It Really Working? Capitalism has been the driving force behind much of the world's economic growth. But is it really working for everyone? In 2021, the wealth of the world's richest 1% was greater than the wealth of the other 99% combined. This is a stark reality that many people experience daily. More than ever, the gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen, with the top 10% owning almost 70% of the world's wealth. While capitalists argue that free markets lead to innovation, the reality is that many are left behind in this system. One of capitalism's key promises is upward mobility, but studies show that it's becoming harder for people to climb the economic ladder. In the US, for example, a child born to a family in the lowest income bracket has just a 7% chance of reaching the top 20% as an adult. It's clear that this system has its limitations. Capitalism's focus on profit often comes at the expense of workers, with labor conditions worsening in many industries. As companies fight to maximize profits, workers bear the brunt of the burden. Chapter 2, From Workers to Owners, The Promise of Socialism. What if the workers own the factories, the businesses, and the means of production? That's the promise of socialism. At its core, socialism believes that everyone should have a stake in the economy, not just the wealthy elite. Instead of wealth trickling down from the top, socialism aims to create a system where everyone benefits from shared resources. One key idea in socialism is the idea of collective ownership. This means that industries like healthcare, transportation, and education could be controlled by the people, rather than a handful of CEOs. Imagine a world where profits aren't just funneled to the top 1%, but reinvested into public services and welfare for all. In countries like Sweden and Denmark, elements of socialism, such as universal healthcare and free education, have contributed to low inequality and a higher quality of life. Socialism isn't about eliminating all private property, but it does focus on eliminating private control over essential services. It's a system that encourages cooperation, not competition, and emphasizes the common good over individual profit. Chapter 3, The Ghost of the Soviet Union, Can Socialism Be Reborn? When many people think of socialism, their minds immediately go to the Soviet Union. And for good reason. The Soviet Union's collapse in 1991 left a scar on the reputation of socialism worldwide. But is that the end of the story? Socialism's failures in the Soviet Union don't mean socialism itself is inherently flawed. In fact, many of the issues in the USSR had to do with authoritarianism and centralization, not socialism's core ideals. As history has shown, socialism can be much more than state control over everything. Today, socialist ideas are being explored in new ways. Countries like Cuba, despite their struggles, still offer healthcare and education to all their citizens, something many capitalists argue is an impossible feat. The difference today is that many socialists are advocating for a decentralized model, one that is more democratic and participatory. In places like Barcelona, Spain, local movements are experimenting with worker cooperatives and community-led decision-making. These grassroots experiments suggest that socialism, if implemented differently, can succeed in today's world. If you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for more content on how these systems work and how they might shape the future. Chapter 4, Reimagining Equality, Could Socialism End Class Divide? At the heart of socialism is the idea of equality. It's about breaking down the barriers that divide us into different classes. Under capitalism, the richest 1% have more wealth than the poorest 90% combined. Socialism seeks to level the playing field by ensuring that everyone has access to the same resources and opportunities. It's not just about money, it's about access to healthcare, education, and basic needs. In countries with socialist policies, like Norway and Finland, people live longer, healthier lives with free healthcare and education. These countries also have much lower levels of poverty and income inequality. But can socialism really eliminate class divides? The goal is not only to redistribute wealth but also to create an environment where social mobility is not determined by the lottery of birth. The wealth of a few should not be at the expense of the many. Socialism aims to ensure that everyone can access the tools they need to succeed, not just those born into wealth. Chapter 5: Green Socialism. Can the planet survive capitalism? Capitalism's drive for endless growth often comes at the expense of the environment. This has led to global challenges such as climate change, deforestation, and pollution. The capitalist model is based on constant expansion, which ultimately strains the planet's resources. Socialism, on the other hand, offers a different approach, one that puts the environment first. Green socialism is an emerging idea that combines socialist principles with environmentalism. It emphasizes the need to protect natural resources and move towards sustainable living. A 2020 study by the European Union found that countries with stronger social policies are more likely to invest in green technologies and sustainable practices. Instead of focusing on profit, a green socialist society would prioritize renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and conservation. The idea is that by collectively managing resources, we can reduce waste and create a future where both people and the planet thrive. Chapter 6: The Road to a Post-Capitalist Future. Is socialism the answer? As capitalism faces more and more criticism, many are asking, what comes next? Is socialism the solution? While the debate is complex, one thing is clear: capitalism is showing signs of strain. With rising inequality, climate change, and economic instability, many are beginning to question whether it's time for a new system. Socialism presents an alternative, but it's not a perfect solution. Like any system, it has its flaws and challenges. Yet, it offers a framework for addressing the systemic problems capitalism has failed to fix. If we want a future where inequality is reduced, the environment is protected, and everyone has access to basic needs, socialism may be part of the answer. The road to a post-capitalist future is not an easy one. It will require rethinking how we define success, prosperity, and power. But in a world where capitalism is showing cracks, many believe that socialism could provide a path forward. The question remains, is it possible to build a new world, one where the well-being of all comes before profit? Only time will tell. If you found this video insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more discussions on the future of our economy and society. Stay tuned for more content on how we might reshape the world.